welcome to a new episode of Staying Rooted. I'm your host Kuruvilla, and today I have with me Prabil of the travel startup Camper. Prabil and me go back nearly a decade when we kind of started our startups separately at the same time. While mine folded up, Prabil's still there, nearly a veteran now in the industry. Prabil, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me here, Kuruvilla.
Yes,
Always happy to talk to my first customer.
I think it was in 2014, 2015 when we
Yeah,
needed a
that
place
around.
to camp for the New Year's Eve, and Prabil reached out to us and asked, "Hey, would you want to check out this new platform that we built?" And we've got this spot in Wagaman. I think we were around 10 of us. We went out. We had a blast of the time.
Yeah,
So, without further ado, let's get into the conversation today. Prabil's a seasoned entrepreneur. He comes from a tech background. He used to work in
yeah,
Chennai before he decided to leave everything, and he started his company in his mid 30s, rich with experience, fresh with ideas. He wanted to do something in the travel space, started off as an aggregator, but then realized that there is a huge gap in terms of providing outdoor adventure sites for campers. And this came during a time when Kerala was going through its influx of travelers, people looking for offbeat destinations to spend a night or to even spend 2 to 3. Prabil,
yeah.
tell us your story.
The initial idea was a total different idea. We started with a deal app, which will list all your local deals in hotels and resorts and experience. And we took around 6 months to build our app. And then once finally, when we launched in 2015 November, within 1 month, I realized this is not going to work out. So it was early December 2015. So as an first time entrepreneur, quitting your job, spending around 6 months in building something, then realizing that this is not going to work out was a hard reality for me. So I like camping, and then that's how we realized there's nothing in Kerala to go and camp safely. So at that time we thought of doing a pilot. So I leased out a portion of land in Wagaman. Then reached out to through WhatsApp saying that okay, we are doing a New Year camping. It was like a pilot project for me, and that's how you came in. You and your friends came in, so you were like my pilot customers. Once that camp is over, owner of the camp actually asked me, "What are you guys doing?" So he actually held 250 acres. That the whole property was around 250 acres of land, and in that particular land, he was running a 6-room cottage or a small boutique resort or something like that. And he was facing a huge problem of not able to utilize the extra land which is lying barren because of many construction restrictions there. So he realized that this is something that he can continue with, and he continued the camping. And we also started giving him business, and that's how a lot of people actually reached out from Wagaman saying that, "Oh, hey, by the way, what is this camping and all?" And people actually started buying tents on Decathlon. That's how we realized, okay, there is something here to tap. Small time players with a minimal investment can set up a camp. So Decathlon tent might cost you $5,000. Buying a couple of tents, or probably 5 tents, will cost you around 20,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees. And with that investment, you can start a hospitality business. So that was a really cool idea then, and a lot of people started doing it.
Something very interesting there that you just touched upon, the sustainability
Yeah.
aspect. Kerala has so much of fallow land, there's so much of open land, but
Yes.
it's not easy to construct fixed structures, permanent structures, which is where
Yeah.
modular structures come into place. And you guys kind of help to monetize fallow land or unused land for a lot of properties. I believe there used to be campsites before, but there was no standardization.
Yes.
Either there was no food available, or maybe it was not safe enough for women and families. The toilets were not available. It was just very unorganized. But Camper kind of brought in a sense of organization to that. How much did tech play a role in that? And operationally also, how did you navigate the first 6 months to make sure that what is available in one campsite is available across all your campsites?
So there are things which are called must-haves, and security is one of the top thing which comes in that list. So every property should be well fenced. It needs to have a 24/7 caretakers. It needs to have a ambient lighting. So those are parameters that we actually look at when we onboard a camping site. You asked about the role of the tech. We thought that we'll bring in tech aspect into the host side, and they will use the tech. Again, ground reality is that these are people who are not very used to this using the tech. So again, we'll have to go back to the conventional ways, like going meeting them. We'll have to spend a lot of time with the host. So we used to travel in the early days of Camper. We used to travel to all of the campings because as a company, we also need the supply side. We were actually creating a market which was not there. So creating a category is a very difficult thing. It's not like onboarding or listing hotels which are already available in the market. So we had to create demand supply side. That was the first challenge that we had. Only after 2.5 years, it started picking up. People slowly started adding camping sites and reaching out to us. If you ask me what is the role of a tech, it was not very much. From a consumer point of view, we were driving traffic to our website. People were able to discover campsites through the websites. We started with a marketplace model. We slightly pivoted to a model which is kind of hybrid, where we list all of the campsites, but still we'll also have campsites where we hold the entire inventory. So we will be responsible for the whole distribution of the inventory across the channels. We'll be pushing it to the network of travel agents. We'll be pushing it through our social media channels. So the downside of that is the scalability part.
What is your proportion of fully owned
So right
campsites?
now, even though we have around 100 or 200 campsites with us, it's actually 20% campsites that we work with, and out of that 40 campsites, you'll 5 or 6 campsites are exclusive campsites. The revenue proposition is like 75% comes from the exclusive campsite because we hold the inventory.
Yeah, so it's easier for you to manage them.
Yeah, it is. We hold the whole experience from the customer coming into our social channels or they booking it. The whole experience we could handle it. There was one campsite which was exclusive who came and asked us to take up the operations as well. So we have started doing that because that is something that we would definitely want to get into and see. Other challenge that we faced is if you look at majority of the campsites across South India, they operate with smaller tents, kind of tents that you get in decathlon store. The problem that model is that these are most of the campsites are weekend campsites. They are booked every weekend. So say for example, if you take Munnar or Wagaman, people from the metros, the Kochis, Trivandrum, Calicut, they travel in their weekend to these camping sites. During weekdays, occupancy level drops to less than 5%. That's because the leisure travelers, the group travelers, they will not call into this smaller tents. So majority of the people who travel during weekdays are group travelers. So people are actually coming outside from not from Kerala but outside Kerala, or people who are actually in Kerala for their vacations. So we found a huge gap there for having a larger accommodation, and that's how we started working on our own tent. The product is Z-Pods.
Before we go forward, I think I also need to give a nod to your co-founder, Suraj. Suraj used to work in Singapore. He left everything and came down to Kerala, joined Prabil. What changes have come in after Suraj joined you? Was he there with you right from the beginning, or did he join after a few months? Also, you mentioned that it took 2.5 years for you to stabilize in terms of bookings and getting everything in there. How did you guys manage those 2 years, considering you both came from a good corporate background?
I reached out to Suraj. He was in Singapore at that time, planning to relocate back to Kerala. He was with State Bank of India. He was also into tech at that time. I pitched this idea to him and understood that this is something he will also like to explore. And he moved back to Kerala in 2016. He was there from day one. He was completely a very operational guy, very good with numbers, and so he works. He gelled very well with the team. You need to have a really good co-founders, otherwise the whole thing goes for a toss. So I'm glad that he's still there, still here with me. survived COVID. It was a really tough time.
Just going back to one of the earlier points that you made, which is weekend leisure stays, right? People, mostly your properties get, or let's say your tent sites, your campsites get booked completely on weekends, and
Yeah.
weekdays are not necessarily full, even though you've got the out of state people coming in. For this, are you seeing a shift in people building campsites closer to the cities?
It is not about the proximity to the metros or things like that. It is only because of the kind of product that is offering. Because the product that is in offering is like smaller tents. So the leisure travelers, if I say, let's take somebody who's traveling from Delhi to Kerala, his itinerary is already fixed. He's coming to Kerala for leisure. His itinerary might be like landing in Nirambasheri, going to Munnar, then spending couple of days in a luxury hotel in Munnar, then going to Kumaragam, having a spa, then moving to Trivandrum. That's usually the itinerary. Never in that itinerary will a camping site come in, and we have tried that. We have tried a lot to get these campsites into their itinerary, and we failed because we realized that the whole mindset of the people who are actually traveling as a group, and when they're coming to Kerala or any state, they don't want to get into smaller tents. So they will get into a large luxury tents that you see in Kabani.
Glamping,
Uh,
glamping concept,
glamping.
right? Is a big thing
Glamping.
globally. Yeah.
We realized that okay, if we have some accommodations like that, we'll also be able to cater to the people who are actually traveling during weekdays. So occupancy level will definitely go up. We are starting to see that with Zpots.
For those who are unaware, glamping just refers to glamorous camping. Basically,
Yeah.
it's a way of camping in a more luxurious way, in a bigger tent. You have all the facilities of actually staying in a hotel room, but you're outdoors in a tent. Uh, think of it like a glamorous way of living outside. And Prabil, are you seeing private entrepreneurs buy this and set it up on their own lands? Are you seeing such private retail purchases happening of this product as well?
Yes, there are a lot of people who own large parcels of land, especially plantation. There are a lot of inquiries coming from Karnataka, Hyderabad, Andhra.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at Tamil Nadu, people who own land in ECR side, the beach seashores, they want to set up some of their like a private property, weekend destinations or something like that, where they can go. If you look at the plantation, there are people who actually travel to their plantations, but and they come back home. So they want something which can be set up quickly. And where they can also bring their families when they visit their plantations. Yes, there are a lot of people who are actually exploring these options.
What are the cost and how long does it take to actually set up such campsite using the Zpods?
The pricing starts from 8.5 lakhs per unit. It does not include the furnitures and installation costs because both these vary based on your preference and the location as well. Rest of the things like the flooring, your washroom fittings, interior plumbing, interior wiring, everything is like a plug and play model. So we are also giving a 10-year warranty on the canvas. And it will take us for around 40 days for the manufacturing and around 10 to 12 days for on-site installation. So if you're looking at say setting up say 4 to 5 units, um, this can be set up in 2 months time. So
Okay.
when you are looking, especially if a terrain like hilly terrain or where the construction, the timeline just goes beyond your imagination when you're looking at a Paka construction, a brick and mortar construction, considering the kind of labor available, the material availability. You have a consistency, you have a 60 week, you can set up a glamping resort in 60 days time. So that is one of the USPs of Zpods. So it's a so on site what you'll require is the usual other infrastructure that need to be set up. So those infrastructure also like the check-in counters or uh, staff rooms, everything can be set up in 2 months. So if you're looking at the whole timeline, it's actually 2 months timeline where you can start a business.
In a state like Kerala, or let's say even India, a country like India where there are thousands of startups, right? Especially in the travel space. How have you guys evolved over the last 10 years? And how do you differentiate yourself now from your competitors?
In our case, we have both sides of the platform, right? You have the host and you have the customers. So you'll have to continuously on a daily basis. You'll have to be in touch with your host, in touch with your customers. It is not like you created a website, you're done with the business, but you'll have to keep innovating. That is the only thing that you can survive. We have moved on to a product side as well. We have started building products. Seaports is one of the products that we have built. I'm taking an example. One of the projects that we are working on right now in a place called Wagaman. The scope of our work is like we are creating a master plan for that particular camping site. So we are supplying Z-Pods. We are building the other infrastructure for that particular thing, and we are taking up the marketing and sales. We are taking up the operations as well. So for a landowner, if you want to have a whole glamping site set up from the feasibility study to creating a master plan to setting up the whole infrastructure, then commissioning of the project, taking up the marketing and sales, hiring people, operations, we give all those services. So this is something that we see as a different. We are currently working on 3 projects. One is a existing resort where he's trying to add on more rooms quickly. Those existing properties. That is one project that we have, and this is the second project is the project that I just mentioned. He has a beautiful place in Wagaman and Plantation. He want to build a glamping resort, and we are helping him with the end-to-end solution. And another use case is somebody who runs a homestay, owns a large parcel of land. He has a beautiful waterfall inside his property. He want again add on. He was thinking of constructing a resort in his property. So considering the budget of a resort, setting up a resort, a 5-room resort, with and the timeline, the completion timeline, he opted for Z-Pods, and that is another project that we are working on. And there are a lot of inquiries, like interesting projects in the pipeline. One is in Ladakh. That is it's a very interesting project. They want to have a stargazing experiences. The whole roof of the Z-Pods will be glass. So there are a lot of interesting projects in the pipeline.
Let's talk more about your customers, Prabil. Obviously, me and my friends were your first customers, but since then, how have you guys moved on? What are the diverse categories of customers you are targeting?
Target audience was like anywhere between 20 years to 30 years. That was my while I was thinking about Camper, I thought, okay, this will be my target audience. But surprisingly, there are a lot of families which came in with especially with small kids. Yesterday I got an inquiry saying that he's traveling from Ahmedabad with a 1.5-year-old kid to camp. So there are a lot of things. The category, the target audience, the age group has increased from between 20 to 30 to 20 to 50, or a lot of 60-year-old people actually camping. So that is actually a good sign, not only for camper, but as a travel as a whole industry. There are a lot of people, especially after COVID. I've seen people traveling on every age, trying to experience camping. Not only so if you look at all the camping sites, it's not just a camping site that we sell. So that's another differentiation between a resort and a camping site or a glamping site. So resorts or homestays actually focus of on amenities that they offer inside the room, inside the resort. But as a camping site, there is nothing to offer inside a tent, but what we offer is what is outside. So that is how even the tagline of Camper is a check-in to outdoors.
I love that tagline. I think right from the beginning I've seen that tagline. I'm like, that's so cool. There is now an aspect of aspirational lifestyle to travel, right? People travel. People love biking, going to offbeat destinations. Do you think Camper has ridden that wave well? And on that same note, what marketing strategies are you guys doing right now to get the word out about Camper?
There's a very big shift, like pre-COVID and post-COVID. People have started traveling, not just traveling, but people are actually seeking experiences. So there is a huge shift from checking into a room and they're checking into a camping site. Of if you take 10 years back, um, I have a personal experience where I took a few of my my kids and a few of their friends to a resort. Uh, they checked into a resort, and we all checked into the resort, and after that, the kids said, "Let's check out," because there's nothing new for them. Because right now, what we are seeing is that even in the apartment that I stay, or even in the villas or apartment that you stay, every home will have a AC, air conditioning, and every home will have a large TV. Every apartment will have a pool. So the kids are actually used to that luxuries. Uh, they would love. I've seen their excitement when they're actually camping. Experience is something that people are actually willing to pay for. So we were actually very dependent on the social media side when we started off. Instagram, Facebook has played a huge role in bringing all this, whatever product that we offer to the our target audience. We'll have to explore other channels as well. We have a huge network of travel agents right now. They bring in a lot of business, and we realize that that is something, that category of travel agents is something very important to us. And of late, what we have seen, especially, there are a lot of travel groups that got created and evolved from the social media platforms. Interesting concepts, interesting communities. We work with these communities, these kind of on Instagram travel agents, uh, exclusively. So they bring in a lot of customers for us. And we also initially we were not listing our campsites in OTAs, but we started listing in OTAs, and that has also given us a lot of exposure, because people actually search in Google for camping or experiences. They obviously the OTAs listing come up, and we have started seeing a lot of bookings which are happening through the OTAs.
How is your work-life balance while running a company like this?
I travel to Munnar and Wagaman probably 4 or 5 times in a day. In a month. Sorry. So the excitement of seeing plantations are not very exciting now. So, uh, but yeah, the work-life balance is very important, especially when you are having a family, your kids. Pre-COVID, it was completely in office. We were very adamant on saying that people have to be in office, otherwise we'll not be able to run, especially the sales team, marketing team. And COVID changed all that. We moved back to the remote. My personal experience is people productivity has increased when they're actually working from home. When a lead comes at 9 p.m. 10, people take up that lead and convert it. That is a difference that I'm seeing when they're actually working from home. It was very tough for me. I was not a big believer in working from home, but now I'm really balancing it. I'm also finding a lot of time for my family, and also the work. My wife also works with me. She handles the digital marketing side for the camper and MZ pods.
So you guys
So
are
it's been,
together.
even though when we are at home, I can easily communicate with her about the marketing or whatever things that goes on. And I think this is the way to go. Remote is something that is right now, it is really working well for us.
I want to know more about the economics of running a business like this. How easy or tough is it? What are the pros and cons? If youngsters tomorrow want to start a business in this sector, the travel sector, how brutal is it? How welcoming?
One of my senior entrepreneur gave me a piece of advice while I was starting, while I actually failed in my first attempt. He gave me advice that when you're actually doing something in travel business, it has to be a commoditized business. When I say commoditized business, if you look at my first business, I was actually selling experiences, like, for example, elephant ride or kayaking. For somebody to book an elephant ride, nobody will book online at that time. and there are a lot of factors that elephant has to be there on time. The weather needs to permit. So, but compared to a hotel or a camping site, the commodity is already there. This facility is already there, so it has to be a commoditized business, and it needs to have a sufficient ticket size. So again, going back to that elephant ride example, what is the maximum that you can charge from a customer? Not much, 500 rupees or 1000 rupees, not more than that. So it has to be it need to have a sufficient ticket size. These are two major advice that he gave me. So I'm always keeping that in mind when we are actually innovating. So camping, when we started off camping, the average ticket size is 1300 rupees. Not much per person. But if you look at overall room rates, we can if you're actually accommodating two people into a particular tent, that becomes 2600, which is a really good ticket size. Then we want to improve on the ticket size, but we cannot give a 2500 or 3000 rupees camp we cannot charge a person, but we can charge 8,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees or even more than that when you're actually selling Z-Pods to a customer. Glamping experiences. So people are actually willing to pay for it. And then again, actually, we are selling a product. Z-Pods, we are selling it for pricing start from 8.5 lakhs, and then there's that revenue coming in. So my advice to all, and I mean, my take in this is we need to have a lot of revenue channels, not just one. You need to look at a lot of revenue. We actually tried with a lot of other channels. I mean, we did a lot of experiments in terms of selling experiences, but the ticket size was not much. And I think that right now we have so again, we are actually catering to a segment of people who are actually willing to pay 1300, and we are also now catering to people who are willing to pay a slightly premium amount as well. So
are there other experiences also or other services you guys tried and then start working?
It's very difficult to sell non-destinations. That is hard reality. Because there are a lot of beautiful lands available in India. We have tried that. We have tried taking up properties in different parts of Kerala, beautiful properties, but very hard to drive customers to that particular property because that is not in a destination. That is one big learning that we had. If you're putting up any property in Munnar, it sells. That is where the role of government comes in. We cannot, as a private player, cannot build our destinations, but government can.
You mentioned something early on about supply, right? Initially, you guys, when you guys were starting off, you had to make sure that there was adequate supply. Now, obviously, you guys have supply in your hand, and it's about demand right now. And demand is a very fluctuating thing, especially in a country like India.
There are certain months that there will be a downside to the demand. I mean, if you, for example, let's take March, travel is down, and that is something that we communicate to the host while we are actually an onboarding host. We tell them that, okay, these are the patterns that you see. This will be the average occupancy level throughout the year. This will be on an average. These are the occupancy levels throughout there, and that if you're actually transparent and communicating this to the new host, especially people who are actually new to the hospitality business, because what we are seeing right now is a lot of people actually coming to the hospitality business from a different background.
If you look at other platforms that are trying to scale, like Make My Trip or Go, which kind of list a lot of properties, they are in the thousands and 10,000s of properties, whereas you guys are still 200. Is there a reason you have limited this number? You have not opened up the platform to anyone.
If you look at Make My Trip or any other similar players, they are working on an existing market. So you have hotels, you have resorts, you have homestays, which they can tap into. But if you look at our case, we are actually building new category. So it's a huge difference. So building a category and tapping into an existing category is a huge difference. It's a long-term game that we like to play. It's already 10 years, but I think 10 years in this category building is a small time frame. People have to voluntarily come in, create new properties. It's something that is not in our hand, but we'll have to show them that there is opportunity, there is a revenue opportunity there. And South India is something that we predominantly focus on and work with the host.
Have you ever been approached by a bigger company to?
I mean, there are a lot of inquiries which came in to acquire, especially after COVID and pre-COVID also, but not very serious inquiries. It was a very initial level of talks. Yeah.
Great. Last question. Where are you guys going forward from here? What's your future plans?
I think we'll keep on building different segments in this particular category, outdoor category, mostly focused on stays and selling the experiences around it. That will be our key focus. We have a category of camping, smaller tents, which we'll keep on building. We'll keep on adding it. But with the Z-Pods coming in, we have the opportunity to build other segment in this particular category. We are giving the end-to-end services to the property owners or landowners. That is very interesting. I think personally, I'm very interested in that to offer those services. So, yeah.
Is there any major product rollout that you guys are planning in the next 12 to 24 months, like Z-Pods? Anything else you feel?
Z-Pods, we are sticking to Z-Pods. Right now, we are seeing traction coming in Z-Pods, early stage of traction. So we'll have to build on that traction. I think this year will be a really good year for us looking at the pipeline. So once we have a lot of Z-Pods, probably 20 or 25 projects on ground, we'll look at different product from the Z-Pods. I mean, different shapes. I mean, there are a lot of inquiries which are coming with having custom designs, but we are not taking that. We are sticking to a product because this is actually a product which we have spent around 3 years in building it, testing it. We are tested
in. Did you on your own? Did you guys design on your own from scratch?
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually something that we have a design patent on this. Yeah, there are a lot of products like glamping products which are being imported from China and other parts of the world. But truly an Indian product, Z-Pods will be a truly Indian product.
Manufactured also here in Kerala?
Yeah, it is manufactured. It is manufactured in Kalamassery. So we have a unit in Kalamassery.
That's pretty interesting. And how are you guys connecting local communities into whatever you are building right now? Is it just the landowners? Apart from that, how are other communities, local communities, also being involved in the tourism aspect of what you guys offer?
So if you look at, I'll just take an example of a camping site in Munnar. All of the people who are actually working in that particular campsites come from local people. There are ladies who work as who cook, who manage kitchen. There are people who actually manage the operations, come from a local community. I'm very happy that we actually providing some value addition to their life, and we give them periodic trainings as well. And if you look at, we also sell a lot of experiences around the campsites. The whole the ecosystem will be around the campsites. It's not about the camp. It's about what is outside the camp. And it's not about what is inside your tent. It's about what is outside the tent, what you can see in the camp and outside the camp. Say in Munnar camping site, people come there for Kuruvilla jeep safari. They go for trekking, they go for kayaking, they go for zip lining. They purchase local, and we actually take the Kuruvilla tea and we showcase that in our campsite, so they can purchase that. So there are a lot of value additions apart from just camping that happens inside a camp and outside a camp.
To the local next time I'm going to try one of your campsites. Hopefully, why not? Thank you so much, Prabil. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.